So how I really got involved in rugby was actually through football. And that was when I was a little girl. Although I wasn't allowed to play football formally with the boys, I still played football because no one was going to tell me I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And so I ended up being a cheerleader in kindergarten, so that I could play football. I was a football cheerleader. And it offered me the opportunity to play with the boys at the end of the season party. And so that was really my start. When I reached law school, I needed a balance, and I was training to play basketball, and someone invited me to a rugby training. And I had no idea what rugby was. I had no idea that it was like football in some ways, and very much like soccer in other ways, and basketball, with the remainder. And so I went out to a rugby training, and that was pretty much all she wrote. It was everything I had ever wanted in a sport. It encompassed all three of those different sports, but it had this element of tackle that I had always wanted to take part in. And little did I know that, I would end up playing for 20 years the rugby football, really. It was so much for me. And I think what it also offered, in addition to just this opportunity to go out on a huge pitch and tackle people and evade tackles and, pass this weird shaped ball, either laterally or behind myself. What it offered was just a community of really open-minded people. And that was my first exposure to that kind of open-mindedness, that sort of acceptance. And having a group of people that I called my team accept me no matter who I was, no matter what I looked like, no matter what, helped me to really drive home self-acceptance. Rugby is such a good sport for women and girls to get involved with. It offers an opportunity also for women to engage very physically in the contact piece. And that's something that, I think, historically, at least when I was growing up, it just wasn't the right thing to do. Women couldn't play football, at least not in any sort of official capacity, and so this is an opportunity for women to get out there, get physical, but I think also the core values, and I think most importantly, the core values that are articulated through our sport of rugby they are things that we can carry throughout our lives with, whether we're male or female. But I think that, again, something like rugby, having the opportunity to play something so aggressive allows for women to really tap into their inner power, their confidence levels ascend, and to really understand how resilient we really are. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for girls to see something like a Rugby World Cup on display here in the U.S. Because again, there's so many girls that were like me, who want to participate. Maybe they don't want to play football. Maybe football is not available to them. Maybe they can't afford the equipment that's required for football, so they have an option to play something like rugby. And I think having that showcase of a Rugby World Cup, in fact, and seeing all of these strong, athletic, powerful women on the pitch, a young girl seeing that and wanting to emulate that is just insane. It's such an unbelievable opportunity, for the U.S. I guess what's really exciting is that, professional women's sports is starting to really get more media play. And that is absolutely the most important factor in really moving the needle. There's an opportunity for us to get to a mainstream level. And so it depends on how you want to look at the picture, right? Is the picture half full, or is it half empty? I prefer to look at it as half full. And so we have that opportunity to look at sports like basketball, soccer, tennis, you know, and even women's golf on many levels. And we can take a snapshot of what they've done to get to where they are. And this is going to require the entire rugby community, not just the women, to sort of really buy in to making the commitment, making the investments, to get us to where we can then have that visibility, where we can be on all of these media platforms, where we can be embedded in mainstream media, because those things are what's going to ultimately lead us to sort of mainstream status. But I think there's so much opportunity and potential. And with, you know, things like the Major League Rugby, the Men's Rugby League taking off, and, you know, having had a few successful seasons now, that has laid some of the groundwork that's been needed for now the women's game to come onto the scene. And so hopefully there are many things in store, at least here in the US, for the WPL, right? And that it can move from a status of being really an amateur sport to a professional league. But it's going to have to happen, obviously, through a committed effort of the entire rugby community. We just have to come together to support each other and support the efforts to grow the game, regardless of gender.